station, I still have to make sure I bring you that radio vibe, and of course, keep it on high vibes this Sunday. Can you believe it? We're almost we are on the 28th of June, which means the last Sunday of June. How time flies. We're already halfway through the year, and 2020, some people have written it off. Some people have declared it, the year of doom. And which is not. It's really not. It's just all about the way we look at it. It's all in perspective. But anyway, you are listening to Africa on Focus, High Radio lockdown sessions, because I'm tuning in from, let's just say, I'm tuning in from home. That's pretty much what we're doing. We are also on a partial lockdown. Plus, High Radio will be making, some nice, interesting announcements really soon. And while we are in a pleasant transition, as we would say, a bit moving here and there and making sure that, what's it called? The studio is set right. In between, I make sure that I bring you the lockdown sessions, tuning in from home. A little bit after 7:30 p.m., coming to you live from the city of Amsterdam. I'm your host, Miss Abba. And what we're doing on this lockdown session is that we stream live on this Facebook page, of course, and also on the YouTube page, alongside my co-host Johnny, who will be with us in a bit. And today is pretty much an interesting day. We are going to talk about agriculture, agriculture and agriculture 2.0. And the reason why it's 2.0 is that a lot of us young people don't necessarily look at agriculture as, a place of opportunity, especially if it comes to, agriculture in our motherland, which is Ghana. But there are some interesting, very pleasant opportunities to be found within the agricultural sector. And with that, I have a special guest who is even a cousin of mine, but who's doing such a fantastic job. Yvette Tetteh, who is founder and director of Yvaya Farms. And what that is about, we are going to catch that later. Anyway, where should I even start? So much has been going on this week. We had a pleasant chat here on Africa on Focus last week with the panelists from Let's Chat Africa. And what that is, it is a bi-monthly discussion panel, and we touch on topics that relate to Africans around the globe, Black people in general, and how we can go onward. It was super interactive. The people that came on and, went to be a part of the conversation were very engaging. Sometimes really strong opinions also came along, but it was very pleasant. Plus, they will be back really soon to make sure that there is a part two about the problems on Black people. But so far, so good. I hope that you are also doing very well. I would really like to encourage everybody, if you are up for it, if you enjoy the conversations that we have every Sunday, feel free to, drop it on your timeline, share it and spread it with the world to tune in, because we have a lot to be talking about. How are you doing? From wherever in the world that you are, I would really like to know, how are you doing today? Really, really interested in, how has been your week. I know that some countries are on a partial lockdown. Everyone is quite skeptic on, are people free to be moving about? There is still some partial lockdown. Quarantine is still, regarded as a must in some countries. So I'm really like to know, wherever you are in the world, how are you doing? Let's just say that the first 6 months of 2020 took us all the way by storm, and we had to adapt. We could just pretty much say that we had to adapt. Let's just call it like that. And while we are at it, I would really like to know how you are doing. How's this week been keeping you? How is lockdown been treating you? How has it just been in general? I am really, really interested to know. Anyway, back to the Africa on Focus part, as we are here, ready to explore the opportunities in agriculture, shall we say. And agriculture is often regarded as something that's more, for farmers, just for farmers and everything. But there are really, really pleasant opportunities coming along, especially when it comes to farming. And this is really something that I feel that young people all over the world should, catch up on. They should be aware of. They should be, informed, or we should be informed on the particular opportunities that are around, so that we could, also venture in that area. Especially for those that are keen to start on entrepreneurship, to start their entrepreneurial business, or even want to do or want to add something to a sustainable business, such as Yvaya Farm, of which the founder we are going to talk to in a bit, just in a bit. Okay, so let's get into this news thing. I really would really like to talk to you about what's been going on in news. A lot has been going on, so much, and I would really like to chat with you, of course, about it. And in a bit, my co-host Donnie will be tuning in with us, and he will be chit chatting, about what's been going on in his life, so that we also talk to on that. Anyway, if you are listening to High Radio wherever you are in the world, if you are streaming from YouTube, if you are streaming from Facebook, you are tuning in. Please let me know, who and where you are about. Let me know, what are you talking about? What are you thinking of? How is your day going? I would really love to know, so that we could chit chat and engage with you as wherever you are, wherever you are. I realize that High Radio is. I'm sometimes surprised by the people who tune in. Was it St. Martin, Jamaica, and not just Ghana alone, Nigeria. We have a lot of Nigerians that also happen to tune in and have a conversation with us. And it's super. And also, lady from New York. Hopefully, she will catch up with us in a bit. And she's really cool. She really engages with us and really gets the conversation going. But anyway, let's just get into this news flash. Every week I bring in the news flash to talk about what's going on in Africa, and to talk about what's going on in our world. One of the major things that's been going on, aside, from Black Lives Matter, which has become this distinct global movement, and really making a strong, or keeping, guarding everything, a strong awareness on what is happening to the lives of Black people. Let me close the door because it just opens like that. All right. Black Lives Matter. That's just really what I was talking about. So, it's been going global. It was a global movement on its own already, but since the last sad occurrence that happened on camera with George Floyd, it just set something off, and people all over the globe have been contributing to the movement in their own way. And guess what? Ghana has a message for African Americans. They're actually saying that, African Americans should come home. If you're not wanted on the soil that you are at, you should come to Ghana. That's just really what Ghana is saying. And also, surrounding the date, I think it was already a few weeks ago. It was the funeral of the late George Floyd. They also held a memorial service in Accra, Ghana, which was very surprising to many, but also very empowering to many. Predominantly the African American community in Ghana, which there is a great amount of African Americans in Ghana who have their community. They interact, they meet, and such. They organized it, and it was not left alone. It was also attended by Ghanaians, the Minister of Tourism as well. And upon her speech, she shared, what, as this craziness is happening around the world, and so much more, people should just blatantly come back. If you're not wanted on the soil that you are in, Ghana is a place of opportunities. We would really like for you to come back and enable us to, build the country. And it's not a surprise, because last year was marked or crowned as the year of return. And as the year of return commenced, for those of you who don't know it, I wouldn't say Google it, but there is a hashtag for it, Year of Return, that invited so many diasporans all around the globe to come to Ghana and experience the country, be on this be on this tour or this traveling, and going back to the whole trace of where a large group of Black people departed the continent and departed Ghana and everything. So the year of return was pretty much last year, 2019, which was themed, and it focused on African Americans, African Caribbeans, and so many Black people all around the world to come back and explore the country, be on this mission on knowing and getting to know their history, again, just starting off that point of contact of, connecting with the country of heritage. Well, with that said, that was 2019. And this time around, when the memorial of George Floyd also took place in Accra, Ghana, Minister of Tourism was like, um, if this is going on, and I'm not phrasing her, but I'm just summarizing it in my own easy words, is if this is going on, you should come back. You are welcome in Ghana. And I think that's really a sign of that's a good sign. It's a sign of progress. It's a sign of something heading towards the brighter direction of Black people coming upon and doing something for ourselves, but we're not trying to look for it in anybody else's hands, whether that be our freedom, our rights, or our full rights, but we're pretty much uniting as people as we should have been doing all along. But hey, we can't go back in time. And such a painful event, George Floyd's funeral, of course. And it was such a painful thing to watch, but they held a memorial service in Ghana. And while they were doing that, the Minister of Tourism pretty much said, Africa is your home. Officials in Ghana's capital, Accra, are inviting Americans to live and invest in the West African nation. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful start to not even a start, but to really continue on this year of return thing that's going on. We're taking the time on to receive a lot of people who are listening from their homes as well. Shout out to Amid Rahman, H for real. I know you. H for real is both an artist and both a very smart, intelligent person who is also concerned of about the leadership of Ghana. Shout out to you and for tuning in from wherever you are, and thanks for picking up on my message to also be a part of this show. Africa on Focus is going on. This is a lockdown session where I am tuning in from home, and today we have a very interesting topic. We are talking about Agriculture 2.0, opportunities of Ghana agriculture. In a bit of 15 minutes, we will have our special guest, Yvette Tetteh, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Pure and Just Co. Ltd. And if you have been to Ghana and you haven't grabbed yourself a pack of dried fruit, if you have, then it's probably the one by Yvaya Farms. And this is not just any product, but this is a product that has been passionately started by a lady who really is concerned about the way Ghanaians eat, and how she founded the farm. And even if you look at the brand behind it, it is such an impactful story. It wants to create jobs for farmers and opportunities. So it's such a business that is very sustainable, inspiring, and so much more. So let's just say in the 15 minutes, we are going to talk to her about her company and Agriculture 2.0, just to point out that there is a future in agriculture for both young people, especially for young people, and that is very much needed. Let me just see if I can get my co-host Johnny here. He's kind of I can see him in the background, like I don't know if his camera is or any of if he's okay. Let me just check with him and how he's doing so that we pick up on this news flash. Let's go. Hey, Donnie, how are
Hi.
you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. Good to have you back again. I see
Good
you've
to be
gone for
back.
another chop.
Well, it doesn't look good. How
It
about
looks
it?
very neat. Really, it
Thank
does.
you. That's the look we're going for.
It does. It's like
Uh,
you really want to get rid of this what's it called? This lockdown look.
oh yeah, it's gone. Oh yeah, we passed that. We passed that. Yeah. How's your
Well,
week
I
been?
hear
How are
they
you?
say that, there might be I've been really good. My week has been busy as usual. I think that the lockdown is kind of sunk into my system, where I really had to pick myself up again and be like, hey, let's do something and go outside, especially with the hot weather.
Yeah. It was extremely hot this week.
It
It was good.
was it was
Very
definitely.
good.
I really had to, tell myself, okay, we can't sit inside. Let's go for a walk or let's do groceries. You know what I mean? Before I would get into
Hmm.
this mode of just not wanting to go anywhere.
That's the quarantine mode.
Exactly. Very, very bad. Very bad, definitely. So how has been your week?
Yeah. Well, nothing unusual. Been a bit more out than weeks before due to the weather. So, well, some of my friends were having a barbecue that I had to attend, so that was
Yeah,
good. So it's kind of like people forcing you to go out, but I've been inside pretty much because I still working on my thesis. So yeah, that's
yeah,
like gonna keep me busy for a while.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
So that's
nothing unusual.
nothing much. And anything on the Black Lives Matter? Because I know last week we had that as our special topic. Was there any follow up that you bumped into?
Well, a lot actually. I've been having some private conversation regarding the panel discussion that we had,
Really?
and well, yeah. I mean, amongst my my circles and stuff, and
How did that
actually
come
also
about?
with well, I mean, this is an it's an ongoing discussion. It's like one of the discussions that or one of the talks that goes on off camera as well as on camera. And for me particularly, it's quite important that um whilst on camera, so when you involve others and have a bigger audience, that you really stress on the most important points that will help you elevate or help you push forward the discussion. Otherwise, it's the same discussion you have in indoors as well as the ones you have in on a bigger platform. So for me, that like there's no progress in there. So lots of the talks we've been having, let's say amongst ourselves. So privately, where the talks are saying, which points are most important, or I mean, the points I was trying to bring last week. Why were they, according to my own opinion, why were they in the more important
Okay.
points to discuss in public, and why
Mm-hmm.
the and which ones are not? So I mean, those are the kind of conversation that we kind of and have, and also that I receive new points as in, hey, maybe like what about this one, and all right, then we can discuss that, and maybe it will pop up in the next conversation that we have. Because the thing is, I know everyone is talking about something,
Okay.
right? Everywhere.
Right.
Um, but the thing is, so when we come together as a bigger group, we have to
Mm-hmm.
understand that we've all been talking about this. So then
Okay.
there should be something else that will elevate the conversation. So it's either you go deeper into discussions, or you take the main points that are really critical in these discussions, Otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's like just talking, and at some point of time, you just get tired of um, discussing the same issues over and over and over again.
But the
So
black
yeah,
people's issues.
yeah, the black people. I mean, the conversation is it's like the same, and I don't know how other people feel about it, but for
Okay.
me, after years of discussing the same issue, you're kind of like you get tired of talking about it. It's either
Mhm.
you do something or you talk differently about it.
Okay.
And African focus kind of like gives provides us the platform to engage with others, as
Hmm.
well as to let's say to steer a conversation in a certain way, whether it be but the goal is to actually to elevate the consciousness or the knowledge or and the people as well. So for me it was kind of like, all right, what is it that I can talk about next time that will kind of like really push the conversation to a place where the audience probably haven't looked at. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was my week, and so I stumbled upon a couple of things that I actually sent you in the mail.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about
That I
it.
yeah that have been going on in the Netherlands as well as in the. I mean, it's like to your perspective, very important in these
Okay.
conversations
Okay.
that happened. So over here in the Netherlands, what happened was there was this Veronica Inside, which is actually a sports program. We
Yeah.
have I think four or three actually white men, Dutch men, just talking about sports.
Yeah.
Main focus being football. But due to the protests that happened previous weeks, and the tension, the international impact that
Yeah.
it had, it was kind of like it got dragged into the area of sports. Not to
So,
go too
so
deep
what
on it.
happened? What happened? Because
Yeah,
I heard a bit about that, but I don't know it in detail. Like, was a comment made on a Ghanaian rapper or something like
right.
that?
So our brother Akwasi during the protest, where he also got receive a backlash for made a comment like and it was like they labeled it as he was calling for violence or something like that, right? When he said, if I see a Swarte Piet this winter or in November specifically, then I
Yeah.
will personally kick him in his face. But
Yeah.
they have a suit going against. But one of the um, one of the hosts of the Veronica Inside
Hmm.
actually really he he didn't know Akwasi before. He had no idea of who this person was, but what he's had learned from him, or what I had received or seen about him, was the fact that here's a black man at a protest with so many people and using his platform to spew what he considers rhetoric and to spew violence or something like that. So
Hmm.
for him, he already kind of like created this dislike for this black man, is this human being. All right. So and then following
Okay.
up, there was like, okay, something happened somewhere else. You can
Yeah.
we can post the link to the whole conversation for the Dutch people who want to watch it.
Hmm.
And there was another protest, and there was this white guy who came there, schminked as Zwarte Piet, and he was like,
Oh.
Zwarte Piet, you're welcome. So this got presented during their show, their Veronica Inside, and
Yeah.
then Johan Derksen, who is the one who didn't know Akwasi before, but now has this negative image of him,
Hmm.
referred to the picture that was shown with the black guy, with the white guy schminked with, Swarte Pete stuff. Like, are we sure that it's not Akwasi?
Oh.
Which is precisely the whole discussion point of this whole kick out Swarte Pete movement. Is the
Yeah.
fact that when people want to ridicule black people, they use this tradition, this white Swarte Pete tradition,
Exactly.
this
Which they
interclass
deny.
tradition. Exact. So it's like it was for me. It was kind of like it was like this is exactly what's going on. But anyway, there's a lot of ignorance in this, and you can view it from a lot of sides, and you can really dive into it. But in the end, what happened was his co-host called him out on it. Like, don't you think that joke, whatever you said, like, went a little too far,
Yeah.
especially considering the tension or the environment around
Yeah.
this topic. So, but for their team, for the Veronica Inside team, or all the host together, they
Hmm.
felt like this man named Wilfred Chenet, him calling out on his co-host, it's kind of like treating his colleagues or his friends, or he's like, you should have took one for the team.
Hmm.
But this in itself is a big conversation. So the conversation I had during this week, not to take much of your time, was that
Right.
for me, if you want to see changes within the society, the
Hmm.
changes will have to come from white people themselves. They are the ones who have to bring the conversation to their homes, to their fathers, to their mothers, to their
Yeah.
daughters, and to their sons. It's not our responsibility as black people. We cannot make you change. What we can do is give the facts. So this is what the protest has have been doing.
Yeah.
However, if we really want to change the Dutch society or the Dutch traditions, it's
Yeah.
not us. I can't make you. I can't force you not to celebrate Santa Claus anymore. Swart Pete. No, that's for you. That's your tradition.
Yeah.
Um, you can do it. And so it's other white people who want to be of the join the cause. So those who were present at the protest, they're the ones I hope when they go home, when they
Hmm.
see their fathers, they see their brothers, they see their friends making such ignorant statements or whatever that is, or
Yeah.
seeing injustice take place, that they are the ones who speak up
Yeah.
and also call on, but also on a, let's say, on a in a lovely tone,
Hmm.
in a tone of correction, not you are the racist. No, in a correction that, hey, I believe there's something wrong with this image. Let's
Hmm.
talk about it.
Yeah.
So now Wilfred Chenet is kind of like put there as the bad white man because he was calling out his fellow white man on something that
Oh.
is very yeah. So it's like this whole tension, and this show has been around for 12 years.
Yeah.
So on one hand, he is like the entire, well, not the entire Dutch community, but the dominant Dutch community watching, following this show is
Yeah.
also on his back. Like, why would you do this? Now
Hmm.
we're not even sure that this show is going to go on or
Yeah.
not. But yeah, that was big, and it happened. It started last week Monday, and this month, next tomorrow was going to be another show, but they have
Yeah.
already canceled it, and so they're now in the talks of whether this show is ever going to come on or not,
Yeah.
which is big. A 12-year show, but on the point of being canceled by such a conversation. So yeah,
And
that's big in the Netherlands.
I hear some particular brands also drew back, or they've stopped supporting him.
Yeah,
The one who commented, who
yeah.
made that comment about Equity. And I also hear he's unapologetic. Is that correct?
Yes, he is unapologetic about it. However, when you're dealing with law,
Yeah.
it's not sufficient to be unapologetic.
Hmm.
Actually, you do have to defend yourself um, legally, and then why? Because you being unapologetic can put
Hmm.
you in a place which is not good for you at
If,
all.
if you apologize
So
or
yes,
unapologetic.
no, he hasn't apologized, which is
Hmm.
which is good. But the
Yeah.
reason why he hasn't apologized, because he can legally back up that his statements were not a call for violence. So
Right.
that, that's the thing. So if he couldn't have done that, then it would be um foolish to actually be
Right.
unapologetic, because but they working hard. I mean, his lawyer also was on. I think either his lawyer or a lawyer was also on the show after the comments were made by Johan Derksen, to question, hey, like, what was your intent with this remark?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
really a joke, or did it have like a racist connotation to it? But
Yeah. So
I'm
what
good.
you
I'm good.
see is even in a sense of this place of denial where people are saying Black Pete, there is no racist intention behind it. This shows
Yeah.
that it actually does.
Yeah,
If the right
and the
people interpret this.
right, and the cover up is it was a joke, and he said it doesn't matter if it's a good joke or a bad joke. I've
Hmm.
made like worse jokes. I quote him,
Yeah.
but it was a joke. It wasn't. But to my honest opinion, it's not a joke, because he kept saying, I dislike this man who is standing there calling for violence.
Right.
So with that in mind, how is it that the first image you see of a black face, you want to, and it's like, oh, it's thinking about it, it kind of like makes you cringe, but
Yeah.
I don't get mad. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I'm not mad about it. I don't even get sad about it. I think it's a good thing. It's a great thing how uncomfortable it had made people feel.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's so big, it's so important. Like,
Hmm.
it's good to feel comfortable, because now you're going to think about it twice next time you want to
Yeah.
make those
Yeah.
statements in the public. But yeah.
I think it also makes them uncomfortable because within the culture, especially of Dutch, to not think twice about what you say before you say it. You know what I mean? So that's actually the interesting part of things,
Hmm.
where well, yeah, I think this will shake up some people. I haven't watched a particular interview, but I did hear about it. Where
Okay.
they really kind of I think there was like a late night conversation on this show, on this late night show, and yeah, it was he was rightfully not attacked but roasted, like
Hmm.
really, questioned on that matter. And
Hmm.
another thing that you also shared, speaking of Black Pete, racism, Black Lives Matters, which we were also talking about last week. I think it was Gary Chambers,
Gary
JR, that
Chambers.
what was that all about? Could you, like, in a nutshell, explain what had happened?
Um, what happened? So Gary Chambers, I think in the state of um, Illinois, I believe, or
In which country was this?
this is in the states. But which state was it? It's in the United States. But so he was at this. I think it's actually one of the universities. Dr. Umar Johnson got his either his doctorate or bachelor for. But
Yeah.
so he went to this school for. They were calling for the change, the name change of that institution, and
Hmm.
you had board. So the board of directors, or the school board, sent there. And as he was about to, they were there, like it was a program. So one
Yeah.
some of the speaker speaks and this and that. But what he noticed was, as the school board was sitting there, and they were there to talk about changing the name of the institution, because it was named after a slave master who was a very wicked slave master, that one of the school board members was just sitting there shopping online. And so this is like, oh, it's so bad. It's more than disrespectful. So
Okay.
the first thing he was also one of the speakers. So as he got onto the pulpit, it was like, whoa, 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 hold on. Before I even, I was here about to talk about Robert Lee, who was
Yeah.
the slave master, or the name of the institution they were about to discuss. It was like, one of the biggest problems we've had in America, and in this discussion, is the fact that when Black people bring their suffering to the table to discuss with white America,
Yeah.
symbolism, that they don't feel the need or the urge to discuss him, while they rather focus on other things. They rather shop online in this
Mm-hmm.
case. So he called her out right there, and
Mm-hmm.
she stood up and she walked out of the room. And
Mm.
then he continues to call out other members of the board, as well as, as because he mentioned not only was she shopping,
Mm-hmm.
also when other people stood up to discuss, to bring forth their arguments or to bring forth their proposals, other
Yeah.
members of the board stood up and left the room. How can you
Mm-hmm.
do that when you've all agreed to meet and at this and have a discourse about it, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden people are being distracted and all these things? So he felt like, that was like straight disrespect,
Yeah.
not only to him as a person, but as well to all the Black people in America, or the African people in America.
Right.
Yes, but that was big. And he even got on CNN, he got on MSNBC, because they were like, oh wow, this is happening. But to him it was like, yeah, this is the good thing, is like he caught it in
Mm-hmm.
act.
Yeah.
But it has always been happening, whenever it's like let's say you're in a let's say you're in an abusive relationship or whatnot, and then you call on the police, and they're like, yeah, we'll be there in 20 minutes, whilst you've been abused, like the
Yeah.
abusing is happening now. And then
Yeah.
they say, yeah, but there's a robbery going on somewhere else. It's like they do anything to kind of like take the attention away from you, or being distracted with other things. But
Yeah.
yes, it was good. Like, she got caught red-handed,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently she hasn't. I thought she had quit, but no, she has given an apology,
Mm-hmm.
like a written statement apology, and she hasn't been out in public to talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
she hasn't resigned either. So,
Mm-hmm.
the Gary Chambers and their group, they're looking forward to have her resigned, because
Mm-hmm.
she's been on that board for, I think, 4 years, or a
Yeah.
bit longer. And in between, she has also been doing other, let's say, ignorant stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the name of the school is going to be changed, so that is a win for them.
There
Um,
is, yeah. I think there's a lot of things going on. Also, that with people pulling out statues of the white heroes who turned out to be slave owners as well. I think it's a really interesting period whereby a lot of name changes are going to happen. I even watched this interesting video, right?
mhm.
This video that I saw, it was Dutch, and they did like a street interview, to talk about particular street names, and the street names which carried names of people that hundreds of years ago were slave owners or something,
Yeah,
but were considered or are considered as national heroes. So they asked a bit of older people and stuff. I forgot
yeah,
what some of the names that came up, that they asked, but they asked them
yeah,
with some of the street names that are really there, and they said, um, should we change street names that are named after some of our heroes, but who've actually, been quite cruel to a group of people? They'd be like, oh no, why should we even do that? It's too much. It's too much work. It's been there all along, and I think almost every one of them said this. Almost
yeah.
everyone.
They've
And
changed one, actually, in Rotterdam. They've changed their name. Witte de Wit Centrum. has been changed in Rotterdam. The name is changed. The new name, they have to think about it. But apparently, Witte de Wit was also a brutal
Oh
slave
wow.
owner, and yeah, so
Yeah.
this has begun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
please.
So the work is starting there. Let's just put it that way. And so back to that street interview, right? The first
Mhm.
bit of question was, should we change particular street names? The older generation, I think there were baby boomers or something like that, were saying no, it's not really necessary. And then they switch the question and they'd be like, okay, so if they were saying, you know what, they are going to introduce new street names, Hitler Street,
Mhm.
Stalin Avenue, or something like that. Their reactions went all the way the other direction, and they were like, no, we can't do that. Why should that be done? That is evil. That is unthinkable. That is, crazy. And they
Right.
really did it to point out that, once it doesn't concern you, you know what I mean, you pretty much don't care. That's pretty much
Yeah.
what the message was. And also to point out people's ignorance, when it comes
Right.
to really what matters, so again, if we then are to ask, do the lives or do black lives matter to people? No, it doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't, because they're not open to understand how the conversation could be hurtful to somebody else than them. And I think that what you pointed out, the example of, Witte de Witstraat, I think it also has to do with Rotterdam being really, really diverse, as in terms of the population, the people that live there. I think it's even safe to say that over 50% is of different heritage. And even when you go to the city of Rotterdam, for those of you who post COVID-19, plan to visit the Netherlands, Rotterdam is relatively diverse in terms of culture, and also relatively more Black people live there. So I think in that case it was really necessary, because in that particular street there are also a lot of food joints, which are
You know.
owned by by Black owners or brown owners,
Yeah.
or any of that. You know what I mean? So I think it's
Mhm.
I don't know what it's going to bring. I really don't know. I think it's good in terms of the awareness bit. I think it is really, really good. The other thing which I am concerned about with, and I talked to Evan about this, for instance, and he was
Yeah.
like, you know what, these changes that are happening is good, but he expressed his concern, or really what he saw happening with the policies. You know what I mean? So let's say all of the statues and everything will be ripped down and blah 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 blah. Won't this be an opportunity for policymakers to hit us where it hurts? You know what I mean? He expressed one example in London, for instance. It was after the riot, a particular riot, 2011 one that happened after also a police violence case. You know, he pointed out that afterwards, okay, people were rioting, blah blah blah, and destroying shops and all of those things. But at some point, he realized that policymakers really use another way to hurt people that have a less strong income, where it hurts, as in terms of okay, rebuilding particular societies that where people with low income are predominantly present,
Mhm.
and also in a sense where they raise some of the rates. They were even saying, okay, if you have a car, you would pay 4 times as much of insurance, because of the fact that it's a high risk area. You know what I mean? So they were using
Mhm.
these type of petty things to
Yeah.
really cause restriction on people with the lower income who happen to be, predominantly Black. And what you would see is then the richer would come and move in, and then the people with the high income would,
Mhm.
get in and take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean. Yeah.
does it sound
Yeah.
familiar?
Well. eh, Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, it's like, that's the thing. We playing chess, not checkers, so we have to be precise with our with our moves. Even
Mhm.
if we're protesting, we have to understand that protest is a mean, not a goal. So meaning, what is the point, or where do we want to get to with these
Right.
protests? Even if riots happen, we have to be careful to what extent do we allow this to go, and
Yeah.
also watch who become the victims of it, watch who are the perpetrators of it, watch where these riots happen,
Yeah.
and also everything after that. Exactly. I mean, with it's like, for instance, if you riot in your own neighborhood, if the process that happened here in the Amsterdam Southeast, Nelson
Yeah.
Mandela, Mandela Park, which is fun because so the Akwasi and three other black men, went on a show to discuss the
Yeah.
protest, with, I think, with Bo something. But so, and one of the questions was how, with Jerry as well, of course. And one of the question was, how did you guys manage to have, let's say, to keep it, let's say, a peaceful protest? Why? How did it come that nothing, because it got extremely peaceful? And Jerry said, I mean, one of the things, basically, was what was different about this protest, because I think there were 2,000 people, what was different than those in the Amsterdam Central, where everyone was packed together, is the fact that
Yeah.
they had amplifiers and loudspeakers everywhere. So they
Yeah.
had speakers, around the whole premise, so everyone could hear them correctly, and they had dots on the floor. But
Yeah.
he went on to say this: he doesn't understand, or this is the point, that why is it that people would assume that their protesting should lead, or why is it surprising that it did not lead to anything violent? And then one of his colleagues also said that. But the thing is, if you would even try to throw stuffs here in the neighborhood that we live in, and
Yeah.
we love this neighborhood, we would personally drive you out, whether you're from this neighborhood or not. If we have an protest here, trust me, we're going to make sure that if a riot would happen here, that it doesn't, would a riot happen, that we make sure that it doesn't happen here in our neighborhood. Why? Because if the riots would take place here, and what would the city council or municipal say? That
Mhm.
you guys wanted a protest. This is what you guys caused. So all
Mhm.
the rebuilding and all those things, we don't have any money for it. Now you have to
Right.
finance your own stuff. You have to make sure. You have to, um, take care of the own security. And on top of that, that's where the policymakers will come in and say, because this happened here and here and here in this year, from now on, so and so, and those are going to be detrimental to the people living in the same
Right.
hood. So, with protests, with the organizers, I'm sure they also think about all these things very carefully.
Yeah.
Um, and it's good to have brothers around who who are willing to protect their neighborhood,
Yeah.
because they understand that, hey, if things go wrong here, this may happen, that may happen. Like, brothers like Eben talking about, this could be the consequences when it comes to policies, due to these protests happening here.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, it's very strong, and it's good that people are out there thinking
Mhm.
about these issues, because you
Yeah.
can easily forget them.
Yeah.
But you're so focused
Absolutely.
on conversation and the protest that you forget that everything that you do has to be strategically placed well. Because yeah, it's just generation game that we play
Oh yeah,
over here.
yeah. We can go on, and I think it's like you said, it's good if you have a balanced approach. You have the protester, but you also have people that could be able to look at it from a broad view. From like a
Yeah,
more of like governance view. You know
yeah,
what I mean? To also kind of
responsibility.
come with strategic, smart ways to really
Yeah,
tackle this on a global scale. I think it's really important. And I think since Let's Chat Africa will be even back on this topic, I think it will be good to touch on that also. In the meantime, for those of you that just tuned in to Africa on Focus, thank you so much for taking your time out to even tune in with us. I just want to give a shout out to Gio Nana Antonio, who said he also said it was his opinion. So, what the difference between an opinion and a joke? I guess he cannot distinguish between the two. And I think Gio is really was interacting with us about the example that you pointed out, which happened on the Dutch national television. Let me see. Well, I love to almost introduce our special guest who will be here to talk to us. Mind you that the internet connection is a bit, something that can happen. That can happen. We'll just see how far the conversation is going to go. We're talking about the opportunities in agriculture, agriculture 2.0, and I'm calling it agriculture 2.0 is because generally this young new generation might not look at agriculture as a place of opportunity. And I think that should change because there is a lot of opportunity in it. And we should definitely talk about that, especially with the perspective of, from the perspective of somebody who has done it before. In the meantime, shout out to Hamid Rahman, who is saying you people are doing a great work. Thank you so much for tuning in both on the Facebook and on YouTube. Keep it up. We are really appreciative of your work. If you're tuning in right now, please let me know where you are listening from. I would really like to hear it. It might be that I hear myself double. Johnny, is it possible that your sound is on the show? Is that possible? Or on speaker? No? Okay. Then I should figure out where that delay or something is coming from. But anyway, um we're talking about agriculture 2.0, and with us we have a special guest from Ghana. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the connection is going to sustain us. Here is a woman entrepreneur that I personally know. I'm her proud cousin. She's an entrepreneur with a passion for nourishing the mind and body. And on her return to Ghana from living in the US, she was dismayed to find out how difficult it was to find yummy, healthy snacks to buy for her little cousins. And she decided to do something about this herself, just simply following through with her idea, introducing dried fruit to the major audience in Ghana. And if you haven't grabbed yourself a pack of Yvaya Farms dried fruit in any store of Ghana, then you have missed yourself a treat. Yvette Tetteh, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Pure and Just Co. Limited. I know we can't come up with the applause, but if you have any drum rolls or say welcome from your comment, just feel free to say welcome, welcome, Yvette, and let's get her
Welcome,
on
welcome,
to
welcome,
talking.
welcome, Yvette.
Hello, Yvette. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Good to have you. Good to have you here. It seems like from your place, it's like bright and warm, isn't it?
Well, I don't. I can see a picture.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm so sorry. I'm going to try my best to keep up with the conversation, but the network's been terrible recently.
no problem with that. I think it's an is it an MTN thing?
Like MTN, Vodafone, broadband, 4G, 3G, your mama's G, like nothing is working. I don't know. There's no explanation for it.
I understand. I understand. We'll cope with this and see where there's this death chain. We'll see where the ship will land us to. Let's just let's just do that. How are you doing? How is quarantine treating you at the moment?
So we are pretty much 100% out of quarantine, out of lockdown. And I mean, if you go out on the street, there's a ton of traffic. People are basically back to normal for better and worse.
Yeah.
And for business, that's been actually quite good because I'm starting to see sales pick up. much
Yeah.
more interest pick up than in the last literally 3 or 4 months.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. So you could definitely, what I understand is there is movement going, and you could pretty much see that catch up on the products and the sales and things.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think there's a small delay, but we'll
Yeah,
manage
exactly.
we'll manage it. And how has been your Sunday? Where are you at this place, this space in time? We're always keen to know that.
Yeah. So I think the question was, how's my Sunday been?
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I've in the last month started doing this silent Sunday thing. So I usually actually don't use my phone or my laptop at all on a Sunday. So this was special for my cousin. Um, and that was just so that, as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to never have a break.
Yeah.
And for me, this was like me taking control and building in a break.
I think that's really a good idea and something that we could all learn from if you ask me. To just
Good, I
have
agree.
throughout all of the work and the hecticness of life, just one day where you have everything off, as in terms of everything
Mm-hmm.
digital, and that connects you with over there.
And like, what do you do actually? Uh,
And what is it that you do?
Exactly.
on a Sunday.
Exactly. Could you repeat that?
What is it that
So
you
what?
do on such a Sunday? Yeah.
What I do on a Sunday instead of working all the time?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Um, well, today I just rested. It's really this novel concept of just resting. But no, usually I'll also do like some swimming or some sports. The main thing is just to take it really easy.
Hmm. I think that's really good. I think for every entrepreneur, it's a good way uh, to get back and recharge, to really get back to your main focus. I really feel that that's
Yeah.
really important. So let's get more into getting to know you as an entrepreneur. Could you tell us a bit about who is Yvette Tetteh? Who is the lady, the brain behind what we know as Yvaya Farms, such a good, sustainable, social business that is doing so many things. Who is the lady behind all of that?
Um, so more about myself or more about the business?
About you?
Sure.
Okay, about me. Um, yeah, well, it's been a long time since I've actually spoken about myself in the business. It's like I said, as an entrepreneur, it's so easy for the business to just get ahead of you all the time and kind of like lose yourself in it. But yeah, I think for me, I'm just someone who's like really interested in being a positive part of community and making sure that I am creating value in the world. And ideally, that's not like extractive. It's not just about money. It's about caring for people in the ways that maybe only I can do. And so that for me was it was really interested to go into business, but then also business that's related to agriculture. Because I was tempted for a while to maybe go into some kind of development work. Or more directly into the arts. But I found business to allow me to do many of the things that interest me in other industries in this one kind of work.
And could you share with us when, at which particular point did this happen for you? Can you describe as a whole? And you could talk as lengthy as possible since the connection is being on its own. Where did this journey start, of navigating and selecting what you are really doing now?
And like the story.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Could you share with us the journey, where and how it exactly started from you making those
Mhm.
decisions that you just shared with us?
Okay, got it. Um, so it's funny because everything has fallen into place, but I can't say that I had a specific plan.
Hmm.
I just kind of had a vision for, again, the kind of life I would like to lead and what I would want my work to do.
Hmm.
And from that, something has come together. So a few years ago, I decided to come to Ghana because I didn't grow up here. And I was actually planning to spend 6 months only and then go back to the UK. And I actually I wanted to come and test and see how it would be like to live here. What work I could do, and I started working with an agricultural NGO. And from that work, I was like, okay, yeah, I see. I feel like it's possible. Of course, it's possible to work here. And I just sort of on a whim was like, okay, well, while I'm figuring things out, I know how to dry fruit. It seems pretty straightforward, and it doesn't seem like anybody else is doing it here. And yeah, that's how it started. It's like it seems so simple, still doing that same thing, but learning lessons as I go and just building on the vision.
Yeah. And could you share with us, because we know you from Yvaya Farms, which is a dried fruit. This is wonderful pack of dried fruit, which people can find at Vidai Cafe, the koalas. It's almost everywhere to be purchased in Ghana. Why and how did you embark on the journey of dried fruit?
Yeah.
So, how did I decide on dried fruit specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, it just partly it was, just something that I had done when I was an apprentice on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed really it seemed easy and accessible. But also, I realized that in Ghana, we don't do much with fruit. We eat it fresh, and that's about it. And a lot of it gets exported fresh, or some is dried or something else. But generally, we're not doing that much. And I just thought this is really untapped potential. And so I thought, okay, well, it's something that I know and something that I think has really huge potential.
Yeah.
So you already had the skills of, let's say, processing fresh fruit into dried fruit. It was like, all right, I'm gonna use this skill to start this business,
Yeah. How
which
did
would have
you
been
acquire the
different.
skill? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so because it would have been different if you didn't have the skill, which happens with I think with entrepreneurs as well. It's like they have an idea, but they're not possessing the skill to actually carry it out. They have to, like, bring forth a team or to look for the people um, who do have the skills, and that kind of like takes makes the journey maybe a bit more complicated and a bit more longer. Meanwhile, in your case, it was like, I already know how to do this. I just have to kind of like start doing it, and the rest will, kind of like fall into place, and it will be bigger. And that's what happened in your case. Am I correct?
Well, I think something that's been really interesting and important to learn as I've been in business is that it seems so opaque and complicated from the outside. And there are
Mm,
things about business that are complicated, but a lot of it is pretty straightforward, actually. And, when you see a finished product on the shelf, it
mm,
seems so intimidating. You're like, how did this come to be? And it's generally just a set of very straightforward steps that you have to follow. And until you take the first step, you don't know any of the others. But actually, it's just about taking that first step. So, for example, with dried fruit, the actual processing is exactly what you think it is. It's taking fruit, peel it, slice it, put it in a dryer, take it out, put it in a package. Like that's really it. There's no miracle behind it. Um, the thing that's difficult is making it a sustainable, growing business.
mm. And on that, making sustainable growth, then did you have someone advising you on that particular matter, or is this something you also already knew how to kind of like, you have the idea that, hey, if I do it in this manner, it will ensure that the business is going to grow? Or was it like, I'm good at this, I need someone who is business minded and who knows to, keep these things kind of like in place, or create this structure around it to ensure that we're not making any losses, and we actually, going on a let's say linear growth with it. How did that? What was the conversation or decisions made on that?
So, the number one piece of advice I give to anyone interested in starting a business, particularly a young person, is find advisors, mentors, partners, friends as soon as possible and listen to them.
Mhm.
That's like the number one piece of advice. Because they have so much information that you're just not going to have. And I know personally, I'm not the kind of person who, I don't really take in a lot of information by doing research online, even though we all should do research online. I really learn from my peers and from those who have more experience. And so that has been just absolutely essential to the growth of my business. So specifically, we've had two advisors from another agribusiness who are kind of like 4 or 5 years ahead of us in business. And
Mm,
so they were close enough that they could still really relate to what we were doing as a business, but far enough ahead that they could share everything from their advice to templates we could use. Um, and it just made it so much easier to avoid very common mistakes that would really set you back. And then the second thing is like I have a really great business partner, and he's same age as me, same level of experience, but at least we're both really dedicated. And I think that's the second thing, like really have a team around you that is committed, because it's really not glamorous work, and it's not even that fun a lot of the time. It's work, so you need to make sure that people.
is it me, or
No, it's
I
not
can't
you.
hear?
In the meantime, for those of you who tuned in, we're having a conversation with Yvette Tetteh, who is in the motherland, Ghana, who is an entrepreneur, the lady behind Yvaya Farms, which is a dried fruit products line. It's so much more actually, because I was even just about to ask Yvette what Yvaya Farms is, because there was this powerful story behind it, and she's engaging with us on what it takes for her, or what it took for her to start as an entrepreneur. In the meantime, shout out to Mensa Gari, who joined. Ifya Rekwa, thank you so much for joining in. La Barbs, thank you also for taking on the time to listen to our interaction with Yvette Tetteh. And shout out to Vincent Abain from Ghana, who says, watching from Ghana. Shout out to you. And now I see Yvette. She can hear us now again. Oh, yes, I'm happy.
Yeah, sorry.
Yvette, could you share with us what Yvaya Farms is about? Because we see it this, we might see, one of the product lines. We see the fried mangoes when we go to Vidai Cafe, but I love the whole story behind Yvaya Farms because it's so much more than just dried fruit. Could you share with us a bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're basically this young, dynamic, woman-powered team that is trying its best to play a part in like the development of Ghana through agriculture, and that sounds like really big,
Mhm,
but it's also true. It's what we're trying to do in our small way, hopefully slow and steady and growing.
mhm,
And we basically work with a bunch of young people from the area where our facility is and source fruit from the central and eastern region to produce this really great tropical dried fruit snack. And one of the things that I always love talking about, but you can't necessarily tell from the package, is that we're actually really a client friendly business. One of the ways we're specifically climate friendly is that we have waste production. So when you're making dried fruit, you're peeling and you're de-seeding the fruit, which means that you have seeds and peels as waste. We're actually now using those seeds and peels in a system to create biogas, which we then use to burn for heat to power the dehydrator. And it also creates fertilizer. So we're basically, we don't have any waste, and we're also generating our energy now, which is really cool for me. And it just means that, like, not only are we having this opportunity to create jobs for people and also support farmers, create work, create money for farmers, we're also able to have an impact on the environment. So it's really the perfect business. It's just hard sometimes.
Love that. I absolutely love that. So coming from you as an entrepreneur or agripreneur, as I would say it, um, how are the opportunities in agriculture from your perspective? Is it growing? Is it interesting for young people to go on? Is it hard? What are some of the? How would you describe it?
I think there is still so much untapped potential here in Ghana in agriculture and agribusiness specifically, like value added business. And one of the really compelling points about doing work in Ghana is that there isn't as much, there aren't as many barriers to entry or competition as you might find in other countries. So, you try and start a dried fruit business in Europe, and maybe you're competing with 10, 15, 20 other brands. Whereas in Ghana, you'd be competing maybe three.
Yeah.
That said, of course, the market is smaller and fewer there are fewer opportunities maybe to sell, fewer supermarkets. It's harder to get our products overseas. There's a high cost. So, once you get started, there are those challenges and those hurdles, but there are opportunities. So
Mhm.
it's just a matter of, some of it is hard work, of course, and being tenacious and sticking with it. But then some of it also is fortune, luck, positioning. How much money are you able to start with? How quickly are you able to access good advisory services?
Yeah.
Are there grants available to you to do the work?
Hmm. I love that. And so looking at when you started, in terms of resources, time, and everything, you mentioned also that the idea was to be in Ghana for 6 months, and work explore. What did it take for you to really start things? And at which point did you realize your 6 month term was going to be, up until now?
Sure. So I started with maybe a couple $100 in my savings, and I literally I bought a tabletop dehydrator, which actually I had to buy from the US. And then, how did I get it here? I think I asked somebody's father who was traveling to Ghana to bring it as their piece of hand luggage, the usual suitcase import and export.
Oh, that's
Um,
hilarious.
and then, the typical entrepreneur story, yeah. I just I started in my mom's kitchen, just trying things out. It was funny because for a while, just I'm bringing in like 100 kilograms of bananas in the back of my car, and then processing until 1 a.m. in the morning. The good and the bad days. And that was it, and just trying to find packaging, a lot of driving around and moving around. Like I said, it was like very unglamorous at the beginning, but just kind of the prototyping and trying to make it work, basically. But I just had a lot of conviction that there's no reason this shouldn't work, which is what I still feel. I still feel like there's no reason this should not work. I'm not reinventing the wheel. We have access to the fruit, to the labor, to the talent. It should work. And so I'm just really like, we have to figure out how to make it work. And yeah, and then the other piece of advice that I give to people who are like, okay, how do I start? Where do I start? Is I say just make a start, just try something. I registered the business before I had anything. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. When I went and I registered a business, and then I sort of got working. But once I registered the business, I felt much more legit, and like, okay, now I have to live up to this. And then I also was very quick to realize I have to have a second income to support me while I am building the business. And so that's how I went into teaching yoga, which was something I was already doing for myself anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so are you teaching yoga in Ghana?
Yes, I do teach yoga, and it's interesting because during lockdown, one of my colleagues and I we had to transition to doing everything online, which the 3 weeks was really exciting, and I was like, oh, this is good. I've been meaning to make more online content anyway, and then after about a month, you're just exhausted. As we've seen today already, just relying on technology is just an exhausting thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have, you don't have the return on energy as when you're there in person. So we actually took a break over the month of June, and we're going to be starting to teach in person again from next month with all the protocols in place.
I love that. I
Okay.
love that. It's a true I love how you share the stories of true entrepreneurship, starting small and really making it grow, being convinced of what you have to offer, realizing that, hey, I need some extra money to sustain myself. So, taking on being a yoga teacher. I really love how you simply share the true entrepreneurial story. I truly love that. Could you share with us a bit about the Ghana market, dried fruit in Ghana market? How was that? Was it were people receptive of it? Were they like, oh, dried fruit, this is totally new? How was that in general? What were your experiences with that?
I will never forget, at least at about 2 or 3 markets when we were first introducing the product, people didn't even want to taste it. And I
Wow.
just was so shocked. I was like, it's literally the same thing minus water. Literally, all we did was evaporate the water.
Yeah.
And yeah, people were just like, what is this? But yeah, and so that was really tough and kind of disheartening at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I do think that interest has really increased over time. And in general, there is an increasing consciousness around healthy eating, healthy living,
Yeah.
making smart choices for your body. And so that's definitely helped as well. And also, I think that finally people do actually want to support Made in Ghana, especially when they see who is behind the product.
I
Does
love that.
that kind of like put a bit of well, not necessarily pressure, but you understanding that the faces behind a brand is also, matters a lot. Does that kind of like put you in a, oh, I have to be, this in this way or that in that way, or kind of like you have to adjust to this type of attention?
Yeah, actually that's an interesting thing to think about because it is a real thing. It is something I think about. I generally am who I am. I don't think the people who know me would ever say I hold back on being myself. You can't really see it, but I have like all these tattoos like around my neck and on my chest and on my back. And I remember for about 5 minutes being like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to be
Mm,
hired again. And then just being like, well, that's who I am. So it's happening.
mhm.
Um, I think, I don't know, I just am so, it just seems so normal to me to just be who you are and then make it work. I mean, I definitely have aunties and uncles and people on the street tell me like, oh, people can't take you seriously if you have piercings or tattoos or whatever.
Right.
But honestly, in my experience, it just means people have remembered me and are maybe even nicer to me than maybe they would have been. It's yeah. Honestly, I think it's been for better than worse. Not to say that's the case for everyone. I do think that there are some people for whom it would be limiting. So it's a combination of you are, but recognizing your environment as well. But I think the times where I've had the most issues have less been about tattoos or piercings and more just being a young woman with opinions. I tend to have strongly worded conversations with older men, and I it's not about the tattoos. It's about the fact that I'm a young woman who doesn't do what they say just because they said it.
Right.
Mhm.
I love that. I love how rather than people's expectancy of looking at you funny because of maybe the fact that you look other than the traditional way, it's rather how you are spoken to as a female entrepreneur. That's a really really interesting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you well you shared you did experience some strong conversations. What are some of the other things that you've experienced as a female entrepreneur? Could you name some examples? off the top?
Yes. So most of the time, I'm so focused on just getting my job done that I think I enter into a space assumption that I'm going to be engaging as a peer. But there definitely are times where I'm much more aware of myself as a woman and would prefer that there were just more consciousness about making people feel comfortable. So, for example, even though I'm the chief executive officer, I still do a lot of the big deliveries of math. So I'm there going to the stores and moving like 20 boxes to deliver them to a store. And often in those spaces, I remember once I was the only woman amongst maybe like 20 men. And it wasn't that I felt threatened, I didn't feel really comfortable. And I was like, okay, there's all these little ways in which gender comes into play. And again, not in a way that's necessarily prohibiting you from doing things, but it does affect your emotional experience of things.
Yeah. And would you say that agricultural sector is more male dominated? Could you give us like a bit of a preview about that environment?
Is the agribusiness sector more male or female dominated? Or is that the
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was a yes.
Yes. Yes, that was the question.
It's okay, awesome. Um, it's hard to say. I think in the established companies that have been around more than like 5 to 10 years, in my experience, it does seem like they're mostly male dominated or male owned and run.
Yeah.
But when I think about my peers who are running businesses that are new, so 4 years and younger, actually most of them are women run.
I see. That's a really interesting take on.
And then in agriculture,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah,
go
sorry, I was
ahead.
just going to say in agriculture, women also are often at least 50% of the people doing the actual work on the ground.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, because of the way land ownership works, they don't always own land. So there again, there's an interesting, maybe not so positive way in which gender plays into agriculture.
Right. Right. One thing that we're almost getting into the last couple of minutes. For those of you who just tuned in, shout out to Eben, by the way, who says more female are getting involved now in agriculture. That is his observation. He is one I know. He's also into agriculture in Ghana, respectively, and I love how he's also observing that which you said. In the meantime, if you have questions for Yvette, make sure that you share them in the comment box, both to our YouTube listeners and on Facebook. I just want to know, Yvette, because your one thing that I really find is good is that your the distribution of your product now. We're thinking of the coffee shops, the stores, the supermarkets. It's available now. How did you as an entrepreneur get your products there, and what did it take for these type of retail stores to come along with the Yvaya Farms story?
A lot of it is really just making sure that you have got all the right certifications in place. And then it's a lot of legwork, just kind of turning up at stores, figuring out who's the buyer for the stores, and then convincing them to take your product. I mean, we're lucky in that our product is the actual product is good. Like it speaks for itself. It's a great product. It's often just about making sure your price point is right. And back a little bit to the certification. One good thing that I'm seeing in Ghana is that it's getting more straightforward to register a product, do the necessary analysis, get everything in place. It actually isn't as opaque and as difficult as it seemed 4 years ago, which is really great. And you can, I feel like people new to, for example, the Food Drugs Association, people are ready to answer your questions. No. And even the website actually is good. So that's been really good to see. But yeah, it's really just about making sure everything in place and then finding the relevant person at the stores and just going there.
So
You already mentioned a couple of advantages of doing this business in Ghana rather than in London or here in Europe, which was the fact that it's a market where you have multiple providers as well as consumers. So the market penetration is kind of tight over here. But are there any other, let's say, advantages of starting a business in Ghana other than it may be new or fresh, and that entrepreneurs or people with ideas can also be like, all right, I think, yeah, she's making some good points there, which will kind of like make them think or move the business idea that they have over here to Ghana or to Africa in a sense.
I mean, so from a business perspective, advantages of being here are that you are so close to source, which is also, I think, a good advantage from a like social and personal perspective too. So, from the business perspective, you can have a really direct relationship with the farmers. You can really know and understand where your fruit is coming from. You can understand the processing, everything like that, which is difficult when you live, miles and miles and miles away. And then from the more like social, personal perspective, like I said, for me, one of the things that drew me to working in Ghana was knowing that I could have this really direct positive impact through job creation, through, setting up a climate friendly, climate positive facility.
yeah.
And it makes your work very rewarding. So you can have a business in Europe, in the States, wherever, and it'll be rewarding, hopefully. But there's a very particular way that it's rewarding here in Ghana, especially if you want to explore your relationship, explore and develop your relationship to this country. I think a lot of people are interested in knowing, like, okay, how to develop the community in and the communities we're from. And for me, being in country is one of those ways where it's like, this is it. But at the same time, those people who can't necessarily back up and they come to or wherever you're from, you don't have to feel bad or feel guilty. There are other ways to continue to support the people on the ground. And I'm always plugging my business or any business and like, people are often asking us, how can we support you? How can we help you? And honestly, I'll speak for at least my own business, just buying the product makes a huge difference. That's the most direct way anybody can have an impact. And if you, I mean, we actually do sell a little bit overseas now. If we can't send it to you overseas, maybe encourage somebody who's living here to buy. It really makes a big difference for us.
And specifically, I've learned that your staff, for instance, because you talked about, impacting your community and in the direct impact you have on the farmers is the advantage is you being so close to them, you can have that direct impact. And I've learned online that um, the people who work for Yvaya Farms also live, I think, was it 10 miles within the radius of the factory? Um, Maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so everyone who works in our facility lives really close. So I would say, so we hire 14 people, and I think maybe seven live within walking distance of the city. So we're really in the community. And the rest live maximum 30 minutes with public transport. So for us, that's been really cool because it's
Yeah.
like we are making a good job opportunity available to people, making it really
Mhm.
accessible,
Yeah.
which is good. And
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah.
we're a little bit the outskirts of Accra, where you tend to find a fewer opportunities. A lot of the opportunities are centered in the center of Accra.
Yeah. Hmm. That's big.
Yeah, I really love that. I really love that. It's a whole, it all comes together, it makes sense. And also from where you're growing the fruit, the farmers that you have involved, I love it. I would encourage everybody to look up Yvaya Farms. And one thing I know, your company is not called Yvaya Farms. Rather, it has a different name. Could you share a bit about that? And also, my question is, can we look forward to a wider product range, or are there any things on the come up that you are ready to share with us?
Okay, so just checking, you're asking whether there's anything new that we have on the horizon?
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, our big news for this year was that we were transitioning to a new facility. So that's technically something that's happened, but it's still in the process because of COVID. We're bringing in a dehydrator from South Africa, and that finally arrived. But now we have to wait for the technicians to fly in from South Africa. Anyway, that was our exciting big news because it just means that we've been able to more than double our capacity. So we're really pushing now, and we're working with people, with distributors in the US. We're talking to buyers in Germany, in Europe. So we're hoping to be able to really launch our dried fruit across the world, starting from next year.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that. Yvette, before we let you go, we have a question from one of our listeners on Facebook, Hansia Esuman, who wants to know what criteria do you use to employ people, and how do they qualify to work for you?
Okay, so we have a couple of different jobs that we hire for. Mostly we hire for actual processing. And because a lot of that is, we do the training for that, we're just looking for people who are willing to work hard because it's a lot of manual labor. People who are committed, people who are in the area, of course, is because we want to really make sure we're serving the community we're in.
Mhm.
But yeah, mostly that. And then also, it's funny because, again, I'm hiring for positions that are relatively manual, but I always try and make sure that people understand that it's not just about cutting and peeling and drying. It's about serving a vision, their own vision, as much as our broader business vision. So
Yeah.
I remember in some of my very first interviews with people who are now the managers, I said to them, please think about what you want to do with your life, where you want to go, and see this as helping you get there. So it's not just about coming in and doing this basic job. It's about moving forward in your life. So yeah. But then, it's also just like, can you come to work on time?
Got it. Got it. Very important. Very important. I believe. I believe. So that is what also keeps the business going. Well, we're almost wrapping up our time with you so that we could let you go back to your peaceful Sunday, non-digital, of course. Looking at young people that are also looking to start something in agriculture. I've spoken to a few that are even ready to invest a bit of money in farmers. They have all kinds of ideas, especially when it comes to agriculture. What is your encouragement or your idea for them so that it could drive them along the way?
Mm-hmm. So what's my words of encouragement I give?
Yeah, what's your word of motivation to other young people that also want to start off as you have
Mm-hmm.
anything in agriculture?
Sure. I would say that agriculture, agribusiness needs us. I think that there is a place for us, for people, for young people, but not even, you don't have to be 20 years old. You can be 45 years old. But I think there's a place for people who have dynamism and who have passion and who have an idea. And so it sounds really corny, but I think it's really important that people know to believe in themselves, and to just try, just do it, just try and see what happens.
Yeah,
And yes, and then definitely start small and build.
I love that. Start small and build. And where can people find you online? For those of you that are keen to find out, where can they find out more about you or Yvaya Farms?
So the best place to follow our story is on all major social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And we are at Yvaya Farm, no S. So YVAYAFARM on all platforms.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for having a bit of your time to talk to us about the growth of your business, you as an entrepreneur, and a bit about agriculture. What any interesting plans for this week?
I'm trying because
She
I have to
doesn't
do
even
my
want to think about
finances
it.
this week. Yeah, when you're the CEO, you have to do everything. So yeah, my finances, that's on the list for this week.
Got it.
Okay.
I know the feeling. I know the feel. Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much, Yvette, for
exactly.
being along with us on this interview. I know the connection made it challenging, but we pushed through. Thanks so much, and congrats on getting the new dryer. I saw the latest post on Instagram, and all the best.
Great.
I love to see more success. Always proud of you, and keep going, keep rising.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, and have a good rest of a Sunday. Bye
Have a
bye.
good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, here we are, Johnny. We are back at our I had an interview. I was like holding. I was, oh, please, Ghana connection, please give us. But we were able to manage it with a bit of delay on the interview. It was good. It was good, definitely.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
your plans for this week? Anything interesting on the agenda?
Well, first of all, I like your earrings.
Oh, thank
You
you.
yeah, and the I was like, wait, hold on, is that the Pan African flag colors thing going on with the red, green, black?
You know what?
Uh-huh.
You know
Uh-huh.
what? I wish it was intentional, but I would just take it. I would just say it as a yes.
That's the thing, that's the thing. But anyway, for this week, well, what? Same thing. I mean, hey,
Yeah,
thesis. Yeah, and just work. Yeah,
and work. Yeah,
nothing special.
yeah,
And over
yeah.
there?
It's part of it. Yeah, it will be the same week. Will be of work, preparation, a lot of working from home. And also preparing towards the new seasons, putting on new ideas for the show, of course, and also thinking of ways to connect with more people. So I'm really looking forward to getting the plans started, and also looking forward to some more interesting conversations with guests. So yeah, it will be a very productive week, as I would say.
Ooh, guess what? So the gyms are reopening
They are. Is
first
it
of
this week?
July. Yeah,
Um,
so we have.
oh, is it? Okay. Someone like me, I will be the one that would just wait it out, still do the workout at home, and just be like coming on later on. I don't know why. But what about yourself? Are you going back?
Yeah, I'm starting. Yeah, I'm gonna be active again. Just starting the first weeks with only cardio, so getting the muscles, pump them with blood and oxygen again, and then from then we can go back to lifting them heavy weights.
Right, right. You're really getting what's it called? You're getting
Pumped.
prepped. Yeah,
Yeah,
prepped for it.
yeah,
Really getting
but
prepped for
yeah.
it. Definitely. So good to have you again here on the show, Donnie. I think
Thank
it
you.
was
Thank
next week there'll be Women About Business, so you're always off for Women About
you.
Business. But the
I'll
the
be
other
there.
week will be going again and bringing back Let's Chat Africa on our conversations, of course. So I'm looking forward to that. And also later on, we will have another person who is also busy in agriculture, who's working on changing the terms of which our farmers are signing with the
Okay.
West. So that will be a really interesting conversation about how he's going to make that happen. Because
Mhm.
it seems that from all of these products coming to the West, the chocolates and all of that, what farmers really get out of this is it's so small,
Ooh,
quite unfair. So that is also something that we're going to talk about. The Black Lives Matter, of course. How can we empower our Africans? We have some interesting guests coming along for that. So I think it will be a good season ending where we will have some change makers, some good change makers coming on to have a conversation with us. I'm really looking forward to that.
okay. Yeah, yeah, me too. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So I won't take much of your time anymore. Thanks so much for joining me on the show again today, and have a blessed week.
You too, and everyone in the audience.
And you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Well, that was African Focus today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I also want to give a shout out to Evan. Evan, you have been crowned a top fan by Facebook itself. I think that really requires a round of applause. When you get back set on your festival location, we should really set you a box of chocolate or something like that. Thanks for always supporting everybody, also for spreading the word and sharing on your timeline. You also have the rest of this week, of course, to share the show on your timeline on agriculture in Ghana and how we can explore more options. Africa on Focus, we will be back sharing some of the recaps on our podcasting platforms. So while you are on the way, you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, and also Town, which is my proud partner, which is the only African music streaming platform. We are on there as well. So make sure that you catch up with all of the episodes that come out. You can follow Africa on Focus on Instagram, Facebook, and where else? Twitter. Also, of course, you can follow me. This is Miss Abba on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure that you follow me, follow me, follow me. And of course, if you aren't familiar with High Radio yet and you're watching this on DJ Slim's page or any other page, make sure that you follow High Radio at High Radio NL. We'll be catching you again next week, Sunday, with Women About Business. Alongside my co host, Kimberly Ofori, we will have our special guest, Marion Spear, who is setting up an impactful business, a social entrepreneur, or who has already set up a social entrepreneur, a social enterprise, excuse me, for women, empowering women in Ghana. And we are going to talk to her about that, the challenges that come along, what it takes to set up something like that. And we will be empowering more women around the world. I'm your host, Miss Abba. Thank you so much. God bless. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be catching you next week. Peace.